His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah received this morning at Sif Palace His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah. His Highness the Emir then received the National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al Ghanem. His Highness the Emir later received His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mubarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister. Finally, His Highness the Emir received the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah received at noon today at Sif Palace the Minister of Education and Minister of Higher Education Dr. Badr Hamad Al Isa, along with the Director General of the Islamic Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or the ISECSCO, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Dr. Abdulaziz bin Uthman Al Tuwaijri. Dr. Abdulaziz Al Tuwaijri presented His Highness the Emir with the Golden Shield of the ISESCO in recognition of the role played by His Highness in supporting the joint Islamic work and solidarity. The meeting was attended by the Deputy Minister of Emiri Diwan Affairs, Sheikh Ali Jarrah Al Sabah. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah voiced gratitude and appreciation to the citizens and expatriates, as well as all forms of media, for the joyful celebrations and noble sentiments they expressed on the occasion of the 54th National Day anniversary and the 24th Liberation Day anniversary. His Highness the Emir also lauded the efforts exerted by the Ministry of Interior and other concerned authorities in organising the celebrations and preserving security all over the country, which made these celebrations a success. Moreover, His Highness the Emir extended utmost gratitude to Their Majesties and Highnesses, leaders of the GCC states, for their kind feelings as well as their participation in these pleasant events at the official and domestic levels. Finally, His Highness the Emir stressed that Kuwait is grateful for the solid ties linking it with the GCC states and affirmed the country's keenness on further boosting these ties in all domains, wishing Kuwait more safety and security, and pray to Allah Almighty for more prosperous returns of these occasions. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah will patronise and attend the Kuwait University Students' Graduation Ceremony for the academic year 2013-2014. This ceremony will be held tomorrow, Monday at 10:30 a.m. at the late Sheikh Abdullah Al Jaber Al Sabah Theatre in Shueikh area. Her Excellency the President of South Korea, Park Geun-hye, and her accompanying delegation arrive in Kuwait today on a 3-day official visit, during which she will hold official talks with His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah. His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah received this morning at Sif Palace the National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al Ghanem. His Highness the Crown Prince then received Sheikh Jaber Al Abdullah Al Jaber Al Sabah. His Highness the Crown Prince also received His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mubarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister. His Highness the Crown Prince then received the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah. His Highness the Crown Prince later received the Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Subah. His Highness the Crown Prince then received the Deputy Premier and Minister of Defence Sheikh Khalid Al-Jarrah Al-Subah. Finally, His Highness the Crown Prince received the Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs Sheikh Salman Subah Hissam Mahmoud Al-Subah and Minister of State for Cabinet Affairs Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah Mbarak Al-Subah, as well as the Minister of Health Dr. Ali Saad Al-Abedi. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz today to discuss and promote bilateral ties between both countries. This is the first summit talks between the two leaders since King Salman took office a few weeks ago. The official visit aims to discuss the situation in Yemen and the ongoing threats in the Middle East. The visit comes ahead of the economic summit in March to encourage businesses to invest in the Egyptian economy. Al-Sisi said the relationship between Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Egypt and its brothers in the Gulf has been strong and stable for years. Thousands of protesters took to the streets in Yemen to denounce Houthi rule and in support of President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi. Thousands of protesters marched in the city of Ib while hundreds demonstrated in Sana'a. Houthi militiamen took control of Sana'a in September, eventually leading President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi to flee to the southern port city of Aden this week, where he is seeking to set up a rival power center with loyalist army units and tribes. Meanwhile, Yemeni President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi declared the city of Sana'a an occupied capital and accused Houthi militants of turning against political dialogue. UN Special Envoy for Syria Staffan de Mistura has arrived in Damascus at the head of a delegation for talks with the country's officials to try to strike a truce in the northwestern city of Aleppo. To promote his plan for a temporary ceasefire in Aleppo to help aid delivery into the city, the UN envoy has met Syrian government officials and opposition figures during the recent weeks. The government and the UN Special Envoy have agreed to send a fact-finding mission to the contested northern city of Aleppo. De Mistura is trying to implement a freeze in fighting in the city, which is divided into government and rebel-held areas. Kurdish rebel leader Abdullah Öcalan called on his followers to take a historic decision to lay down their arms in a crucial step to Turkey's drive to end a 30-year insurgency by Kurdish rebels. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan welcomed the call, but cautioned the rebels had failed to deliver on previous pledges. The move was unveiled at the latest round of peace talks in Istanbul between government officials and Kurdish politicians and marks the most significant peace deal with the two sides. Prime Minister Ahmed Davutoglu also hailed the statement as the start of a new phase, saying that the language of violence would now cease to exist. Thousands of Russian opposition supporters gathered today for a march through Moscow in memory of Kremlin critic Boris Nemtsov, whose murder has increased concern about Russia's future among opponents of President Vladimir Putin. Nemtsov was one of the leading lights of an opposition struggling to revive its fortunes 3 years after mass rallies against Putin that failed to prevent him returning to the presidency after 4 years as prime minister. Nemtsov hoped to start the opposition's revival with a march in Marino, on the outskirts of Moscow today, to protest against Putin's economic policies and what they see as Russia's involvement in the separatist war in East Ukraine. The Kremlin denies any role in the fighting. Meanwhile, the organizers said Moscow city authorities had approved the march alongside the river Moskva, allowing for up to 50,000 people, and more could show up. Estonians went to the polls today in a parliamentary election to see centre-right Prime Minister Ravi Roivas form a new pro-NATO coalition and fend off a challenge from a pro-Russian opposition party. Tallinn residents cast their ballots at polling stations in the city, although a third of Estonians had already voted online and in advanced voting periods. Prime Minister Ravi Roivas has voiced concerns that Russia could seek to destabilize other former Soviet states. Estonia was once part of the former Soviet Union, but is now a NATO member. Minister of Education and Minister of Higher Education Badr Al-Isa praised the efforts of Sabah Al-Ahmed Centre for Giftedness and Creativity in the field of education, stressing the attention of education areas of science, mathematics and literature. This came during a tour by Minister Al-Isa to Sabah Al-Ahmed Centre for Giftedness and Creativity for talent classes, methods and computer club, mathematics and applied science workshops and ceramic arts. Here is more in this report by Salim Al-Kindari.
While touring Sabah Al-Ahmed Centre for Giftedness and Creativity at Qadsiya Youth Club, Minister of Education and Higher Education Dr. Badr Al-Isa announced that there is strong cooperation between the Ministries of Education and the Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC) in the areas of innovation, adding that the Ministry of Education is doing its utmost to develop and construct an integrated national educational model in Kuwait.
This event, it will be concentrate on the aim of the event under Dr. Badr Al-Isa, the Minister of Education, to show our success stories, particularly for such a program where we have seen started since 2012. The program concentrates on the math and science. We have signed with the Purdue University and Johns Hopkins, where the best universities in the world, almost, to implement such a program where concentrate on the gifted and talented. So today we're going to show success stories for the where we cooperated with the Ministry of Education, inshallah.
Well, what you see here is workshops. We have the Fab Lab, Fabrication Lab. It's mainly targeted for young people from ages 8 to around 40 years old. And we provide training to show them how to build their own products. Also, we have a sector here for the patents where they can file their patents and register it in the US and in Europe. Let me show you some examples. For example, they're using the laser cutter to engrave and cut on acrylic plastics. They're using the 3D printer to design. They design and then they print, and they connect the electronic board, so they can come up. They can create a product that sometimes it's small product and can grow to become a large product or an idea or an invention that can we produce and sell on the market.
The center will transfer the robot project, among many other innovations, to the Ministry of Education in order to establish experimental classes in the field. Sabah Al-Ahmed Center for Giftedness and Creativity is demonstrating today some of its programs, and it's also showing some of its products that had hit the market worldwide. From Sabah Al-Ahmed Center for Giftedness and Creativity, this is Salim Al-Kindari reporting for the English News.
Kuwait Stock Exchange ended today's trading in the red zone as the price index lost 19.67 points, the weighted index dropped by 5.28 points and the KSX 15 shed 17.05 points. Number of trades amounted to 4,084 transactions worth 25 million Kuwaiti dinars, with 152 million shares changing hands. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, here are the headlines once again. His Highness the Emir voices gratitude to citizens and expatriates for the joyful celebrations and noble sentiments they expressed during the National and Liberation Days. Her Excellency the President of South Korea arrives in Kuwait on a 3-day official visit. His Excellency the Egyptian President holds talks with the custodian of the 2 holy mosques. And thousands of protesters marched to denounce Houthi rule in Yemen as Hadi declares Sana'a occupied by the Houthis. Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.